previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage. And so I'm ready. Let's go.
Donald Trump refused to commit to a debate with presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris, despite already agreeing to terms to the next debate, it is scheduled for September 10th, tentatively, but it's now in limbo after Trump's campaign pulled out, issuing this statement. Given the continued political chaos surrounding crooked Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, general election debate details cannot be finalized until Democrats formally decide on their nominee. There is a strong sense by many in the Democrat Party, namely Barack Hussein Obama, that Kamala Harris is a Marxist fraud who cannot beat President Trump, and they are still holding out for somebody better. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to schedule things with Harris because Democrats very well could still change their minds. And of course, to which Kamala Harris replied, "What happened to anytime, any place?" In April, Trump's team complained that there were too few debates, saying Trump's advisor said that with more Americans voting early, the proposed calendar simply comes too late. Moving up the commission's timetable will ensure more Americans have a full chance to see the candidates before they start voting. And we would argue for adding more debates in addition to those on the currently proposed schedule. They said the country deserves as many as 7 presidential debates, citing the record number that Abraham Lincoln and Stephen A. Douglas held in their 1858 battle for a US Senate seat in Illinois. But now with Biden out of the race, he's changing his tune. Before I bring you both in, I want to remind viewers of what Trump was saying in his first rally after that debate with Biden. And mind you, this got overshadowed by him immediately following the comments challenging Biden to a golf match. But take a look at this.
Here's what we're gonna do. You guys can be referees if you like. Let's do another debate this week so that sleepy Joe Biden can prove to everyone all over the world that he has what it takes to be president. But this time it will be man to man, no moderators, no holes barred. Just name the place, anytime, anywhere.
He came out of that debate unbelievably cocky, ready to debate again the next week. Now suddenly, Anna, he thinks they should wait. What's going on here?
Okay, so there are 2 possibilities. Obviously, the first possibility is he was ready to debate a sitting president who very clearly was experiencing, cognitive decline. And unfortunately, because of that, the first debate made it appear as though like Trump is like way more competent, would be a way better leader. It was absolutely devastating for Democrats, and Trump wanted more of that. He absolutely wanted more of that, which is kind of pathetic when you think about it. So Kamala Harris, right off the bat, as soon as it became pretty clear she's the presumptive Democratic nominee, goes out there. She's again confident, she's strong, she's youthful, something that now Trump is not. You don't have someone older than Trump in the race now. And so there's a possibility that he just doesn't want to debate her because he's scared. I think that's definitely a possibility. The other possibility, and let me just throw it out there, let me know what you guys think about it. He can't stand when he's not the center of attention. He tends to dominate the news cycle during elections, okay? And that's not happening right now. It went from everyone focusing on the assassination attempt, wall-to-wall coverage of that, to now suddenly, it feels like the assassination attempt happened years ago. That's how quickly this news cycle is moving. And all the attention, especially over this last week, has been focused on Kamala Harris. And it's mostly been positive media attention, a lot of negative, a lot of critique toward Republicans over how they're fumbling right now. They very clearly were caught flat-footed by Kamala being the presumptive nominee. And so their response has been nothing but gross misogynistic statements that's even turning off conservative female voters. And so I think that he's attempting to get back into the news cycle, even if he's kind of taking a risk here by appearing incredibly weak and pathetic. So I think that there is a possibility he's just trying to make headlines right now. But what do you guys think?
I think both of those are true. I think, and that's a wonderful point, especially about the second point you make, because we already know Trump is afraid of anyone that's going to make him look bad. He understands that Joe Biden is not Kamala Harris, and he's not prepared to stand on stage with a prosecutor who is going to keep reminding the world that she prosecuted people like Trump all the time for rape, for extorting banks, etc. I also think that he is absolutely pissed that he is not the center of attention right now. It's what's making him so angry right now. And I know that for a fact. That's why I think it's beautiful that you said in the beginning of the show that she must continue to take shots at him, because it's under his skin so much that it's going to continue to make him show up in manners where he just say things like, basically the Negro black president who didn't have a birth certificate does not like the Negro black woman running for president. So it's just going to get worse and worse. So I think needling at Donald Trump is way better than debating Donald Trump. So I'm glad he backed out of this election. It's bad for him, but it's great for what's going to happen to his ego behind that.
Yeah, I like the possibility of outing Trump. Like, he just wants the attention back. He wants a news cycle about him. And this is a surefire way to do that and get some press coverage. But I think the longer he holds out, it will start to affect him in the polls. They're going to be able to hit him on it at the DNC next month. People are going to talk about it. He's already being framed as a coward. And that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning more to the coward camp, because she can finish a sentence. We talked about this the other night, Cenk and I. People missed, I think, because Biden was so bad, Trump had a terrible debate too. He was rambling, He was nonsensical, but just by comparison, he looked good. That's why everyone thought he won. But when the bar is below ground, of course, anybody can look good. And on that point, it has been driving me nuts for the past few days. I'm so curious what you both make of this. All of these Dem Party loyalists who for months were insisting Joe Biden is the only person who can beat Donald Trump. How dare you suggest he drop out? And now all of a sudden, like, we see Trump doesn't want to debate somebody who can finish a sentence. You see a shift in the polls. You see a wave of energy. And now all of these same people are thrusting themselves forward. I got it. I know who needs to be vice president. It's Pete Buttigieg or whatever centrist. It's like the same people who are making awful suggestions for VP and are acting like they know the way, when 2 weeks ago they're telling us that Biden was fine. Give me a break.
Yeah, those people are the worst of the Democratic Party, and I think have contributed significantly to the decline of the Democratic Party. Okay, these people should be banished, and no one should take any of their advice or opinions seriously. They should be mocked relentlessly. Okay, because remember what they did. Okay, it wasn't just that they were gaslighting the American people and Democratic voters by claiming after that horrendous debate that there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden, dynamo behind the scenes. He's the only one who can beat Donald Trump. Like, anyone who pushed back against that because, they have eyes and ears and they saw what they saw during that debate was smeared as a Trump supporter. In fact, some of those people are watching the show right now. I don't know if they're members. This is members only, but yeah, are we Trump supporters for wanting the best possible candidate to run against Donald Trump? And by the way, look, I know that there wasn't an open convention, so I don't know if we have the best possible candidate. But what I do know is that Kamala Harris is a million times better at basically communicating a message and giving this impression that she's a strong and competent person who could lead the country. That debate was terrifying, okay? Because it wasn't just about the possibility of Donald Trump getting elected. It was also the fact that even if Biden was able to eke out a win, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with someone like that running the country for another 4 years. Keeping it real. That's not ageism. That's not ableism. That's called, hey, this is one of the most important jobs in the world. And to mock that job as if anyone can do it, including an 81-year-old who's very clearly experiencing mental decline, is insane to me. So like the amount of disdain I have in my heart for those people who smeared individuals like us as Trump supporters because we wanted someone more competitive to run against Donald Trump. No. They're the Trump supporters. Okay, they're the ones who could have potentially enabled a Trump victory.
And I will say, just to, not to be the party loyalist here, I will say a couple things can be true. I definitely believe that some of those people were ringing the alarm in a false manner, right? Bull who cried wolf. But I would also say that we should be careful that folk like George Clooney, Nancy Pelosi, and the likes who are calling for Biden to drop out, don't think that, or don't believe that, even though they don't represent the party base, that they have an oversized influence over who is not our candidate for president. What I mean by that is George Clooney touted that he raised $27 million and that he has the right to say what he said. I hear that, but it also sounds like, from someone who was as left as I am, it sounds like if it was on the other side, a lobbyist saying to an elected official, you need to do this, or we're going to stop giving you money. And I think that, to me, was part of my frustration, not with keeping Biden on the ticket, with this Russian roulette we played with who's going to be the candidate. I also want to say that it also, for people of color, people who live on the margins, my problem with this idea of replacement was that it was not including anybody that represented the party's base. I think the exclusion of the CBC having a say in what's going to happen when they are the largest caucus in the Democratic elected officials at the House level, and seeing people like Nancy Pelosi, who is 3 years older than Joe Biden, which means Joe Biden would have been 1 year older than her at the end of his next term, say that he needs to go and she's still holding on to office, just didn't sit well with my soul. And I think that was my problem with it. I definitely don't think that Joe Biden or even Kamala Harris are the only two people that can beat Donald Trump. I think what the voters were saying was a effing cardboard box could beat Donald Trump, as long as they were not Donald Trump. So I hear both things, but I also want to point out the fact that the money coming out first, the arrogance in George Clooney deciding, because of his $26 million from him and his friends, gave him the right to determine who our nominee was, sat uncomfortably in my soul.
Yeah. Well, what about the elitism of the Morning Joe hosts, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, a former Republican who have close ties to Joe Biden, engaging in the gaslighting? It wasn't just party elites who were concerned about Biden losing to Trump. It was the voters. And upward of 70% of voters wanted him to drop out of the race. And it was amazing to me that as there's more and more people terrified of Biden staying in the race and losing to Trump, you still had, and I'm not even talking about, I'm mostly talking about like media figures who were just with a straight face lying to us about what Biden is actually like and the mental decline that he's actually experiencing. Like, that drove me insane. And those were also the same people who tried to brush aside ordinary people as like secret Trump supporters, as they were literally terrified that Biden staying in the race would basically seal the deal for another Trump victory. But the behavior of Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough in particular, I mean, how do you take anything they say seriously after all this? That's what I want to know. And I haven't really watched any of their programming ever since it was clear that Kamala Harris would be the presumptive nominee. I don't know if you have, Jordan, but are they now, riding the Kamala Harris train, or are they still sticking to Biden? I don't know. I'm curious.
Wouldn't pay me to watch that show. There's no chance. I'm the worst person to ask. I have zero interest in what either of them think. And it's unfortunate that, despite how they're kind of like an anomaly, I think, relative to the broader population, they did have outsized influence over Biden's decisions. He reportedly watched that religiously every morning, and was reminiscent of the Trump presidency when he would watch Fox and Friends. I don't think it's a direct parallel, because Trump would watch Fox and Friends and then govern based on what they talked about. He would tweet about it, he would obsess over it, talk about it, make it a policy priority, until he watched another segment and moved on. He had no object permanence. But it also felt very like Trumpian when he called into Morning Joe when he was trying to save his candidacy. It was just a very bleak moment for that campaign. And on the point, yes, I love that you made that point. The people who were calling for Biden to step aside, of course, they were not Trump supporters. The Trump campaign wanted to run against Joe Biden. That's why you see the discrepancy in his comments about the debate. They wanted 7 debates against Joe Biden because they knew it would just be a bloodbath. Now, we don't know if we're gonna get 1 between Trump and Harris. And I think there's a lot of factors. I don't want to discount the narcissism thing, but I think part of it is that he's worried that he's going to look bad. He really hasn't been in a rigorous debate since 2016. I mean, Biden was already showing signs of decline in 2020, and that whole schedule was disrupted because of COVID. They even pulled out of some of those. So he really hasn't been in a debate gauntlet since 2016. He's rusty, doesn't have the juice. He's scared of Harris, who's younger and sharper and more intelligent, more competent. It's a mess.
And also, look, we can't discount the difference between Hillary Clinton, or the way Hillary Clinton was perceived versus the way Kamala Harris is perceived. Hillary Clinton was not loved, okay? Like, a lot of people really disliked her. That's not the case with Kamala Harris. And in fact, this was an unexpected bonus, a little cherry on top that I myself didn't expect, but I love that it's happening. You know, young voters are super jazzed about Kamala Harris, and she's getting a lot of play on TikTok, you know? So like, she's dominating on some of these social media platforms. Hillary Clinton didn't. And Hillary Clinton, I think, wasn't as tactful in responding to some of the gross things that Republicans were saying about her. She kind of went in the route of being aggrieved and offended, whereas Kamala Harris and her campaign are instead mocking the Trump ticket and making fun of them and making people laugh about it. And I think that that's just a better strategy. I mean, that's not to say that some of what's going on the right is offensive, but they want you to be offended. So don't give into that. Mock them instead.
Yeah, just a point. I definitely believe that, like, you know, the idea of not being Hillary Clinton and being Kamala Harris has a role to play in this election cycle. I would also say that, you know, a lot of the baggage that came with Hillary Clinton was not her own. It was her husband, and the world is okay with putting men's baggage on women, but it doesn't go the other way a lot of the times. I will say this though, you know, 70% of those people that said they wanted Biden to drop out said they were still gonna. A lot of them said they were still going to vote for him regardless. And I think my thing is just that I am so frustrated after, you know, 20 plus years of election cycles. I'm so like tired of the hypocrisy. On one hand, they tell us it takes a year and a half to run for president, and then they also present this idea that, oh, two and a half months is enough. Right? Like, so which one is it? You need $2 billion to be president, or you could do this in a couple months. I'm just frustrated with how they're chicking and making money off of voters and not really spending it in any other way than with their media consultants.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. It's a really good point.
Yeah. One thing I did want to add, I think your digital popularity point is really interesting. I saw a stat today. So she's already quadrupled. Harris has already quadrupled her TikTok following. And this is just in a couple days. She now has 2 million. And that was the one platform that a lot of digital strategists were worried about, because RFK weirdly kind of dominates on that platform. But of course, Trump had a much larger presence than Biden. Biden's TikToks, you've seen them. They were clunky. They felt forced. They're really bad. Her account is already over 2 million followers. And an analytics firm found that 95% of left-leaning posts had a positive sentiment about Harris. We're in just a totally different landscape than where we were in 2016. Part of that is people learning from mistakes of the past. Part of that is people being more familiar and more strategic with how to run against Trump. Now, this is the 3rd time for the Democratic Party and the people in that party and in that establishment. So I think you're going to see a much smarter, nimbler, and responsive campaign. You can see it in the press statements, you can see it in her comments, and you see it on social media. It's just a totally different vibe.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.